So when you mentioned that we should use creativity as the word that represents the unborn nature rather than imagination, I looked up imagination on Google just to get a better understanding of the way it's generally used. And I know psychologists use it just to mean basically mental representations or images of objects that aren't immediately present but that we can somehow project onto some vague screen in our minds, and we can picture things inside our heads, even though we're using metaphors to describe what it is that's actually going on. We experience it, and it's not really like a movie screen in there, but that's the only way we can talk about it and describe it. But I found a really interesting definition for imagination from philosophia.net, spelled with an F instead of a PH. And it's imagination is the ability to represent objects or states of affairs which cannot exist, which do not exist, or which do not exist here and now. Imagination is both condemned for its link with falsity and prized for its role in artistic creativity and human understanding. So it's a double-edged sword. Um, in one sense, it is associated with mere belief or, just whimsical and fancy poetry that doesn't really represent the truth, the objective truth, right? But on the other hand, even the greatest scientists would have been nothing and wouldn't have come up with their paradigm-shifting theories if they didn't have tremendous imaginative abilities. And all of our great art and the expression that human beings have created is all a product of the imagination. And this definition goes on to mention Kant, in that he says imagination performs the indispensable role in perception as the intermediary between our senses and our mind, or what we perceive through our eyes and ears and skin and tongue and so forth, and what we actually think and understand on the inside as a person. So the imagination fills the gap and unifies our experience of this objective world with this subjective mind. The mind itself, I guess, is the pure creativity, and the world is pure habit. Or this was, I'm just trying to extrapolate on Kant's framework here, because I think what the imagination shows us is that time and space, for Kant, were the basic a priori categories, but it turns out maybe, possibly, that time and space themselves are evolving. And whether they're in here or out there, they're changing, and they're not stable, because it seems like imagination is this perpetual engine that's never allowing pure novelty or pure habit to reign over the other. And it's always circulating the water, so to speak. And because we certainly need habits to be imaginative. A poet still uses English to express him or herself in a new and more creative way. It's just that the old strict grammatical structures are expanded a little bit, but the basic normative context of the language still has to remain in there somewhere. Otherwise, the poetry would be nonsense instead of imaginative. Similarly, if it was totally habitual, it almost doesn't make sense, because it's pretending to be objective about something, and yet our real experience is always sort of in between subjectivity and objectivity. It's imaginative. It's constantly building upon itself.